want to, we can leave your friends behind. Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. I said, we can go where we want to, a place where they will never find. And we can act like we come from out of this world, leave the real one far behind. We can dance. We can dance. We can go when we want to, the night is young and so am I. And we can dress real neat from our hats to our feet and surprise them with the victory cry. I said, we can act if we want to, if we don't, nobody will. And you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile. Say, we can dance, everything's under control. We can dance, doing it wall to wall. We can dance, everybody look at your hands. We can dance, everybody's taking a chance. Who's to say to dance? Who's to say to dance? Who's to say to dance? Who's to say to dance?
Warning. This podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the latest episode here on your favorite home for punchy, kicky shenanigans, the I'm No Joe podcast. So, before we get too far into it, I would like to go around the room here and thank these wonderful folks for coming along here and shit-talking shenaniganery with me. First and foremost, the freshest guest a podcast could ask for, Mr. Fresh03 himself. How are you doing this fine evening, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you, my friend?
I'm not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Thank you for asking.
Ready to talk some punchy kickies.
Hell yes.
Ready.
And then across from him, we have got the fiercest cat in Fishtown, Mr. Nick Devine himself. How you doing there, brother?
What's up, everybody? What's up, chat? Thank you for watching. Let's get it on.
Hell yeah. And then, as is the case most days across the octagon from me, as it were, my Wednesday night compatriot, my combat shit-talking homeboy, Mr. Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, TJ?
Ready to do it. Let's get into it. There's a lot going on this week between what's coming up this weekend and shit that's popped up in the news this week. Holy hell.
Absolutely. There is a whole lot going on. So, before we get too far into it, as has been told to me by smarter people than myself, before we get too deep into this, for the folks who are going to tune out in 10 minutes anyway, if you want more I'm No Joe content, you can find us on all social media platforms at I'm No Joe. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All audio version for the Instagram influencer face distraction free version. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Patreon/I'm No Joe. If you want to kick in a little bit to help the show and get some behind the scenes exclusive shit for it, that's where you go. But let's jump right into it. To start the show like I enjoy doing around here, we will dive first into the news in recent events, the goings-on and happenings, the fight talks, the shit that has broken loose since the last time we have seen you fine folks here. So we will start this off with a very, very big fight announcement, 2.5 years in the making, quite literally, as it were. UFC 250 on May 9th, the return of the long-awaited boomerang slinger himself, Fabricio Verdum, comes back to combat, and they are throwing him right up against the dad body constrictor himself, Alexei Oleinik, for one hell of a match to bring that man back, and I am very excited to see how that one is going to play out.
Oh, dad bod constrictor at it again.
Oh, I'm telling you, and Fabricio back from his unintentional ingestion of potentially supplements that were tainted that still haven't been confirmed, but whatever, the suspension's up, so we're moving forward.
We got a gas station dick pills. Gas station dick pills. Got it. But it's not a fight you want to come back to.
They're not giving him an easy fucking walk down the ramp. That's for damn sure. But the jiu-jitsu on both of those two.
He's gonna hide another cinder block in the ring and choke him out.
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu between those two. Okay, so moving on from there, a little more interesting, but for a very different reason, kind of news we found out about this week. Ronda Rousey, while not announcing officially she is 100% retired from professional wrestling, has indicated that she has checked that box off on her to-do list of life, as it were, and is now going to be focusing mainly on I'm using air quotes here for those of you listening, exclusive gaming channel only on Facebook, the Rowdy Gaming Live channel. So there is that. It is something that folks should be aware of because it's going to start popping up in memes soon, I promise you. So, you heard it here first. Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, I never knew that she even played video games.
Yeah, she's a hardcore gamer. Like, in her early days, she went to one of her weigh-ins in a Pikachu costume. Like, she's been an OG gamer since back in the day. So it's cool to see her doing it. It's just kind of a weird turn to see how she got to this point when I think really she probably should have jumped on that Twitch bandwagon years ago and would have been well better off for it than she's going to be trying to jump back into it now a little bit.
I would love to see her combat some trolls. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean she's great at talking shit. So I mean, and that will be a heavily moderated channel. I will guarantee that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not going to be a free for all. I promise you that, especially on Facebook Live to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the whole wrestling thing goes, from what my understanding is, she was interested in a part-time schedule. So popping up once every couple months for a couple shows, and then
a couple shows here and there, make herself known that she's still on the roster, but not a mainstay. I think is what she's aiming for. She signed like a 3-year deal with the WWE or something like that. So I mean, it's not like they're going to let her out of the contract that easily. Yeah, so. Vince ain't going to let that just walk away. No, you're not going to let a payday like that walk out the fucking door. So.
No, especially not when the WWE's a little going in the negatives lately. So.
Yeah, they lost like $1 billion in a day.
Yeah, they're not doing well, despite the XFL looking spectacular. So
I've had a lot of fun watching the XFL.
It's been a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Because if anybody remembers the old XFL, it was a glorious dumpster fire. It really, really was. It was still entertaining to watch, but for a different reason.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of legitimate, like AAA league football with some guys that are just, working their off season and some guys that are coming up and legitimate talent, good plays. Yeah. It's really entertaining. So, I mean, hats off to them for that.
Yeah. They single-handedly reinvented the kickoff.
Yeah. I really, really do enjoy the way that the XFL does the kickoff. Not to get too foosball-y so Lumi doesn't have a complete conniption fit, but yeah, I really do enjoy the way the XFL does the kickoff. Since the NFL is constantly trying to find a way to make it better, I think the XFL nailed it.
Yeah, I concur.
But back into the specific punchy-kicky world, because there was some punchy-kicky in the XFL last week as well, but into the world that we focus on here, we got what I think is one of the kind of most subtle but also most meaningful pieces of information for me, at least as a very rabid hardcore combat sports fan this week. We found out while he was laying majestically and completely fucking relaxed talking to Ariel Helwani, Tyson Fury, for his upcoming rematch with Deontay Wilder, has the one, the only Stitch Duran in his fucking corner as the cut man this time. So if we get to a point where the cut man will be needed, at least this time we know that Tyson will be ready to keep going because he's got the right man for the fucking job in his corner. And for folks who don't know, the cut man is your lifeline during a fight. He can quite literally end your fight or keep you in it when shit goes awry and your body starts to take fucking damage. And there are a few who are legitimately considered the best of the best. And Stitch Duran has been a corner cut man since the old school boxing days for the greatest of the fucking great. And he is such highly respected in the combat sports industry that there are still to this day, Deontay Wilder reference, certain fighters who will not go to a fight unless Stitch is there to wrap their hands for him. They trust him that implicitly that he's the only guy that they will work with, period. He is absolutely the best. And if you don't know about Stitch Duran, take a few minutes after the show and just throw his name in Google and look at the shit that man has been through in the last couple years, and then look at the smile on his face as he has waded through every fucking bit of it and come out completely fucking unscathed.
Yeah, fucking goddamn UFC cut off their nose to spite their face with that one.
Damn right they did. And he is one of the few people that Dana has fully fucking shit on and has come out better for it 100% on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
That was 100%
He definitely didn't
UFC's
lose any
loss.
work, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was 100% the UFC's loss and their fuck up in that decision. So, moving along from there to a little bit less positive news, but still very valid and important to be talked about here. We got a statement this week from Mark Goddard responding to the situation of UFC 247's Colby versus, or not 240, 245 rather, excuse me, Colby versus Kamaru stoppage. Colby, for those of you who don't know, has 100% turned the fuckstick knob up to 11 and broken it off and thrown it across the room publicly about Mark Goddard, screaming that this was a fix, that he was paid off, that he took money from some character who made sure that the fight ended when he wanted it, where he wanted it, that he was still fighting, blah, blah, blah. First off, fuck Colby. Anyone that even thinks that's a remote possibility, fuck you. Secondly, go back and re-watch that fight. Colby was quite literally melting like a piece of cheese in a fucking microwave when Mark Goddard stepped in there and saved his stupid ass. Thirdly, we've come to find out that thanks to this MAGA moron's fucking routine and his stupid fans who don't understand that that is 100% a heel routine, Mark Goddard has spent the last 2 months receiving daily death threats. Because sometimes people are stupid. I don't care who you root for, what you like, what you don't like. The moment your brain accesses the possibility of making a death threat on an official in a match, you've crossed any kind of fucking line that reason can be associated with, and you need to fuck completely off. That's not fandom, that's mental illness, and you're a fucking person that needs help in that situation. So, hats off to Mark Goddard for taking this whole thing with a grain of salt and a bit of fucking class and just sitting back and letting the shit roll off of him instead of responding immediately and fueling the Colby fire that he started. But this kind of shit needs to be nipped in the bud. You cannot get so fucking extreme over a controversial decision, because like it or not, there's going to be another equally, if not more so, controversial decision coming right around the corner, and you can't stop that one either. So you have to find the fucking balance here. But props to Mark Goddard for handling this like a fucking professional.
I concur. I mean, we don't want to get into politics, but
Unacceptable.
Yeah,
completely
there's a
unacceptable.
fucking line for decent human being, and you can't fucking cross it over shit like that.
Good God, no. There's plenty of fights where I wanted to reach in and slap the piss out of the ref, but I'm not sending him fucking death threats.
Yeah,
Dude,
absolutely.
Look, you got to look at it at the ref's point. It's his job at his discretion. It's not your discretion whether we like the calls or not. There's been plenty of fights we've seen that are stopped early. That doesn't give you the right to go threaten to take somebody's fucking life or do any harm upon them whatsoever.
No.
They have a job to do. They don't come into your job and say, "You didn't do that fucking right, so I'm going to kill you."
Yep.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and it's not like a referee's job is light to begin with. They're not in that ring to make sure the fans get a show. They're not in there to make sure that we see the coolest knockout or the most hardcore submission. The referee is in there for the sole purpose of protecting the fighters. Period. That's it. That's his only focus. Anything other than that is pure circumstance. So you can't fucking go too crazy on this shit, quite literally.
I will stop texting Mark Goddard. I'm sorry.
I mean, we tried to be subtle about it, Nick, but you don't get the message sometimes. Oh, but moving along from there, interesting kind of cross-sport, same vein type of news. We found out this week as well that incompetent judging is not limited to just MMA. Those of you who didn't get a chance to see, I also encourage you, once our show is over, to take just a quick little 30-second trip back up to that YouTube search bar and look at the 2020 NBA Slam Dunk Contest and tell me that those judges were not 100% out of their fucking mind on those final round dunks.
Aaron Gordon won.
He dunked over Taco. Are you fucking kidding me? That man had flubber on his shoes.
He dunked over a 7'5" dude.
And didn't touch him. Cleared him completely.
Yeah, his chest was up at the hoop. Like, it was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it was insane. So as melancholy, as fucking ironic of a thing as it is somewhat refreshing to know that bad judging isn't just limited to combat sports these days.
Yeah. For the first time in a while, fuck you, Dwayne Wade.
Right? Because that could have been a moment to shine and be like, watch this kid. But instead he was like, no, that wasn't that good. Fuck you. Watch it again.
Yeah.
My death threats are stopping Mark Goddard, and they're going to the judges of the dunk contest.
There you go. Let's reroute those to Dwayne Wade. That's right. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, go get Dwayne Wade. He's probably got it coming.
It's all about focusing your energy. So, in that vein of terrible judging and people who definitely probably don't receive as much shit as they need to be, because sometimes public bullying can teach a lesson, and I think this motherfucker needs a lesson, we have found out two interesting sets of facts surrounding the controversy from actual UFC 247. I apologize for misspeaking earlier with the words. The controversy surrounding the ending of the actual main event for 247, John Jones versus Dominic Reyes. The first infuriating little piece of fucking evidence or fact that we had revealed to us was that the Texas State Athletic Commission not only wholly supports Joe Solis's decisions in his clearly incompetent fucking reporting of judges scoring, but they have said that they have no intention whatsoever to penalize or further force him to receive, air quotes, any type of reprimand for his decision making, and will keep him in the judges' rotation for MMA sports and combat sports in general going forward with no hesitation. So that immediately tells you that not only did Texas not think they did anything wrong, now they're butthurt for being accused of doing something wrong and letting this incompetent idiot potentially ruin a great fucking night of fights.
Yeah.
But then we get the plot twist that makes this beyond just aggravating and brings it into true Eddie Bravo territory here. So before we get into this one, I'm going to need any of you who aren't familiar to make sure that you have your tinfoil hats ready, because this one gets a little out there, but it makes sense if you follow through, okay? If you don't believe me, it's on YouTube. Look into it. You know what I'm talking about, Eddie. Joe Solis, this incompetent fool of a judge, who is one of the three involved in the Trevin Giles versus last-minute replacement badass James Krause match, which goes very unbelievably to a decision in a great fucking 3-round battle. Joe Solis is one of the judges who gives that battle somehow to Trevin Giles, leading to the decision being given ultimately to Trevin Giles on the win for that match, amongst other incompetent calls for that night. But this one in particular is the one we're following, because if you do a little bit of research, you've come to find out Joe Solis is a black belt. Joe Solis got his black belt from a gentleman who happens to be Trevin Giles' coach. Joe Solis teaches jiu-jitsu classes in a gym owned by, don't get ahead of me, Trevin Giles' coach. And then we have an incident where he has the opportunity to score a fight for Trevin Giles that basically everyone who has seen it agrees that he lost. Hard fought, but he lost. And then he coincidentally puts on his score that fight won for Trevin, and Trevin gets the win. Now we're getting a little bit fucking ridiculous. How did we get to a point where an athletic commission lets a man who's given his black belt and teaches at one of the fighters' gym score that fighter's match? What the fuck?
Okay, so I have a problem with this. I'm going to tell you why. Because lots of people are saying judges should have some kind of background in mixed martial arts or
Absolutely.
something. And if they do, this is always going to happen, where they know the sister, brother, cousin, roommate. You know, that's always going to happen. Like if
to a certain degree,
have,
yes.
If you have just like John Jones, you know, in the corner when he retires or whatever, he's always going to have some kind of. So that's real weird that the one judge that actually knows jiu-jitsu, probably one of the only judges, I'm guessing, I have no idea, you know, has a relation to and I bet you could trace him back to a certain camp every single UFC card. But that is crazy. That is crazy.
However, this is a direct. Like this isn't like I know somebody's cousin. This is like
that's my son.
I'm rubbing this dude down with oil after we roll.
Yeah, like me and this guy sweep the fucking mats at the end of classes kind of shit. Like I completely agree. There's always going to be a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon situation with every fighter and judge somehow. But this is a little bit too fucking coincidental, I think.
Yeah.
There's a caveat to that statement, though. I don't have a card, so there's my card. The caveat to that is that's why they have a panel of judges, not just 3 for the entire fucking night. There's like 6 of them or something like that. They can easily find out, do you know this guy or do you know somebody you trains with, whatever, and switch them out for another judge that doesn't.
Yeah, they do it in jury duty
Shit like that
every day.
Be fixed. It's not because when you go back and you look at every fight that they have, it's just a random group of whoever they pick. If you random pick the guy and you know he knows that motherfucker or trains in the same gym, for Christ's sakes, no, nix that shit because that's a conflict of interest, period.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
And look, I get it. That fight, Giles put up a hell of a fight. He really did. He really didn't win it. Not in my opinion. However, this is where that conflict of interest comes in. He saw it one way. I'll give him credit where credit's due. You got a black belt. You teach jiu-jitsu. Fucking awesome. You actually know more than 90% of the other fucking MMA judges out there. Well done, sir. But you can't actually go and judge a fight for somebody where you work in their same camp.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable. Whoever the cocksucker was in Texas that decided that was a fantastic idea, or fucking, what the fuck are you thinking? Get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's like you can't eat birthday cake with the guy before the fight. Like you just can't. I'm sorry, but I mean, like you could roll at the same gym and really dislike somebody at the same gym, but
Yeah.
you know this. You look at it and it's an opportunity you teach there to get more publicity for your gym. You may not like the dude, like even if he doesn't like the dude, I'm sure he probably does, but even if he doesn't like the dude, that's that's a conflict of interest because of the business side of it alone. So,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, situations like this should never happen. Um, there is a lot of there's a lot of incest in the MMA world. Like people know each other. It's not that big of a world. So there's always gonna be something, but you can't have something this direct.
Yeah. It's a little on the fucking nose for coincidence sake, I'd say, at the very least.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's part of that other issue where, like, I love the idea of having old fighters and old refs become judges, but then plays into that conflict of interest that these guys. There's kind of a rough spot there in the same sense. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We bitch because these guys aren't educated enough. At the same time, we put somebody in there who is. They're going to know somebody. Just like this happens to be where they should have just rotated them out for a different fucking judge. But,
I agree.
who are we to
And
say?
actually,
we're not the athletic commission.
right. Well, but in that same vein, to kind of address that particular point, this is also a situation that we've heard several people talk about that comes up a lot when they're commentating, specifically for like Joe Rogan, DC. Paul Felder actually released a statement about it yesterday about how he's had several incidents in the past where the UFC has had him commentating on fights where one of his teammates is in the octagon fighting, and he said that to try and be as unbiased as he can, he literally will just go silent during the broadcast, bad for TV as that may be, because he would rather say nothing than say something complimentary of his teammate as opposed to seeming to be literally, unbiased here. So I think if a commentator can sit there and literally watch his teammate fight someone for a living, a guy that's supposed to be judging a fight as his job without commentating required should be able to be impartial as well. You would hope. But little piece of side news. David, I did do some Googling here real quick while we were talking about this, and Lesnar's son signing with the UFC is fake news. He did not sign with the UFC. The only controversy he is currently locked in right now is arguing with a fake Luke Lesnar who pretended to open a fake wrestling organization to combat the WWE. That's the only controversy he's currently involved in. He did not sign with UFC. Fake news. Sorry, sir.
LEW, Lesnar Elite Wrestling.
Yeah. But moving along here to a couple more little things before we get down into it. A couple of interesting announcements this week. A trio of legitimate former UFC big names here. Wilson Reis, because he's Brazilian. John Moraga and Hector Sandoval have all three signed with Aries Fight Organization and are all three expected to be on cards, maybe not the same card, but they're expecting to have all three of them matched to be fighting before the summer. So that's a nice little bit as well, because for those who don't know, Aries is kind of another AAA league promotion, not quite UFC caliber yet, but not quite a Bellator status yet. They're probably like a rung below Bellator, maybe a rung above Ryzen even. But they are starting to pick up some legitimate talent, and they are also getting to the point, like we talked about with BKFC a little while ago, where they've been around long enough, they're starting to bring in some of their own homegrown talent, as well as still picking up nice little catches. Like Wilson Reyes is still a very fucking competent fighter. John Moraga is still a very dangerous motherfucker. Hector Sandoval will still fuck you up, I promise. So they're being very smart about their choices here, because they're not going after the Bellator and the fucking, the straight to Ryzen type of guys. They're picking up the people that maybe seem to be slipping through the cracks a little bit, but I think very much still have a chance to help build an interesting promotion in Aries. It's developing pretty nicely, I think. So the next one after that, sorry, I have to compose myself a little bit. This one gets me a little bit excited, touches me right in the feelers. We had a historic moment this week, and I don't use that phrase lightly. And it's going to seem a little bit ironic and kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it bears covering, and it legitimately is a real piece of MMA history that happened this week. We had announced that Elias Theodorou, even after being released from the UFC, has now been the first MMA fighter in the world to receive a medical cannabis therapeutic use exemption, a TUE. He now is the only fighter on the planet, the first fighter, I should say, because hopefully he doesn't stay the only one long. He was the first combat sports fighter on the planet to have a piece of paper from the governing body of combat sports that says he is allowed medical use of cannabis and can violate the quote-unquote given thresholds based on that medical exemption. This is a little bit of a complicated issue here because the UFC has lightened their stance on cannabis use and they have completely embraced the use of CBD, but this is another step further than that. This is legitimizing the actual 100% use, to get on my soapbox a little bit here, of cannabis for its beneficial medical properties, which it 100% does have, scientifically proven. Due to federal legislation and fucking willful blindness in the government organizations, it's been difficult to get to this point, but we are finally at a fucking point where cannabis has been recognized internationally to a degree. The medical benefits are now being written into therapeutic use exemptions for combat fighters. And as a person who wholeheartedly and vehemently advocates for cannabis more than anything in my life, maybe more than this, the two of these things coming together legitimately gives me goosebumps talking about it. This is a huge step, not just for MMA, but for people as a whole. This is a little piece of your own personal freedom being given back to you in the form of an undeniable statement the government cannot dispute. And I'll get off my soapbox now, but god damn it, this is important and it's getting swept under the rug, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about it. Talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, professional athletes love weed. Like, I mean, we were robbed of oh, what the hell's the receiver out of Cleveland? What the hell's his name?
O.J. Simpson?
No. No.
Aaron Hernandez?
No. I'm gonna Google.
I think, yeah, while Fresh is looking for that, I think stuff like this, they should let the fighters vote and let them decide, because I mean, it's a weird thing to not let it. It's just a weird thing to not let. I think the world's coming to a point to realize that it's a weird thing to be illegal.
Yeah.
And yeah, they should just let them vote on it, because it would definitely go through. I don't think, even if you didn't smoke marijuana, I don't think you would care if the other fighter did.
Well, and this ironically follows up last week when we were talking about the 78-year-old Gracie getting arrested and detained for smuggling drugs for having a topical CBD ointment in his jiu-jitsu bag. Like, we have to get to a point here where common sense plays a fucking legitimate factor. And I feel like, as small as it is, this is a concrete place in that step.
That's a huge step. I mean, we're well past the point of reefer madness. So, I mean, at this point, there's no reason why, as long as it's medically cleared for something like this, I have no problem with it. And look, you want to do it recreational? That's up to you. Do your thing. If you live in a place where it's legal, by all means, do your thing. But just know it's just like any other job. If they have a restriction on it, you have to follow the restrictions and guidelines. It's your job. And look, I have no problems with what you're doing in your personal time. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not telling people that I'm okay with fighters going out there fucking doing blow and heroin and shit like that, because I'm absolutely not.
Right.
Those things are a completely different entity. In fact, I'm not okay with fighters going out and drinking. I drink myself, but that's way more harmful than smoking a little pot.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
So the receiver I was thinking of was Josh Gordon.
Okay.
Josh Gordon, I mean, the dude had the potential to be one of the all-time greats, and we were robbed of how many years has he been off and on out of the NFL?
Yeah.
Because of pot smoking.
Well, look at Ricky
And-
Williams.
Yeah, Ricky Williams.
He literally gave up his NFL career because they were going to fucking draw their line in the sand over cannabis, and it was legitimately medically helping him. And he said, well, fine, then I'll give up my fucking career.
Yeah. And it does help a lot, you know, the muscle relaxation at the very least for professional athletes that are, you know, that high tuned all the time.
There's a reason there's an organization specifically called High Rollers BJJ Tournaments, because specifically in the jiu-jitsu community for 100+ years, one of the staples of the highest levels of guys in that fucking practice is to smoke a little weed and then roll, because you get more creative. You can see different angles. Different things help. You get more limber. You're less focused on being stiff and more creative in the moment. Not to say that that's all created by the cannabis, but it sure as fuck helps. So I'm happy to see that we're making fucking progress. It took until 2020 to get there, but damn it, we're at least on the fucking right path now.
We just need to bolt all these old motherfuckers out.
Right?
Get some fresh ideas in there.
No shit. Get some fucking modern thinking individuals in there. But I digress. I'll come back off the soapbox here and we'll get back to punchy kicky shit. So, we did have a couple more interesting fight announcements. One here in particular that I want to talk about real quick. An interesting addition to the April 11th UFC Portland card that they are building up to be quite interesting into itself. Krzysztof Jotko returns to the UFC against Eric ya boy Anders as of right now the co-main event, because they're not willing to call it the main just yet, but it has all indications that may be our main event for the evening. And I think that is going to be an interesting matchup as well, between the time off from Jocko and the camp switching from Anders. There's a lot that could unfold in that match as well. So, a couple of announcements pertaining to this weekend particularly, not the UFC, but this weekend as a whole. So if for whatever reason, because everyone's entitled to your own opinion, if the UFC just isn't your cup of tea, but you still need a little punchy kicky and little violence to help keep your weekend properly tuned, you're okay. You're in good hands. We have got plenty of it this weekend. So aside from the UFC card, which we'll talk about here in just a moment, there are 3 other major cards worth giving an eye to if you are a fan of the punchy kicky shit that we get into around here. The first one is going to be Friday evening. Ryzen's 21 card is going on Friday evening here, Saturday there. There are a couple of very interesting matchups on there. I'm not going to go full breakdown, but if you're into punchy kicky, there's some things there you might want to keep an eye on. The one I will wholeheartedly advocate, though, starting at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow evening, Bellator 239 with Ed Harris headlining there. That is going to be a big fucking, or Ed Ruth rather, excuse me, Ed Harris. Ed Ruth headlining over there. There are a bunch of great fights on the main and the prelim card over there, so I would absolutely recommend folks to keep an eye out. If you need a little Friday evening pick-me-up punchy kicky, there's plenty going on Friday night. Now, if you make it through Friday night and then you make it through Saturday night and you get that twinge in the back of your neck where you need a little more excitement, a little more violence to fill your weekend, to round it out for you, fret not. We've got you covered, folks, here. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday evening. Submission Underground Grappling 11 begins, and holy shit, boys and girls, if you are looking for a name-recognizable roster of people not doing MMA but known for it, this is one you are definitely going to want to keep an eye on here. Aside from having matchups the likes of Jake Shields versus Richie Boogie Martinez, which is going to be fucking spectacular, we also have Aluminum Mike Perry versus Al Iaquinta, and then the Aluminum Princess versus someone else who I don't know but I still hope wins, and then the piece de resistance that makes this event so just to me. The first ever sanctioned Tag Team Jiu-Jitsu Submission Match. Nicky Rod and Craig Jones versus Viggy Magalhaes. Holy shit. This is a 2-on-2 tag team submission only jiu-jitsu match with 4 of the highest level players in the fucking game. And I think it has got some potential to just put all kinds of interesting highlights to be talked about on next week's episode.
I'm trying to envision how this is going to go down.
Right? Tag team jiu-jitsu. Submission
Like
only, no strikes.
Like you're working the arm and then you stretch your foot back. And they tag in.
Right?
They come in like
jump in, take back mount real quick, peel the spider off,
Yeah,
and try to
exactly,
crawl out of the ring
exactly.
before the
Roll
3
back.
count. Like,
there's
Does
some
the other guy get a chance to come in and stop it?
that's
Oh,
what that's
is it
what I'm
like
saying. Like,
pro-
there's
is it
so
like
much
pro
potential
wrestling?
here.
Is it like pro wrestling where you get two breakups during the match? Where you
Right,
can run
that's what I'm
over-
saying,
where
like,
you
this
run
is
over
as
and put the
close-
boots to someone real quick and then run back.
Yeah, like this is as close to WWE being real as I feel we have ever been in my lifetime. We are this fucking close, folks. This is almost not scripted anymore. We're getting there. We're fucking getting there. I'm very excited. There are some legitimately great fucking matchups on this card, and if the matchups themselves aren't enough for you, the tag team jiu-jitsu debut I think should be enough to get everybody to give a little eye to that one there.
I'm actually really excited for that.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I want to know how they're going to actually pull that off. 'Cause they haven't released a set of rules on how that's going to work yet.
No, just the announcement of the actual matchups and the order that the fights are going to take place in. No rule set has been released yet. This could get real motherfucking interesting, and I'm kind of giddy to see how it fucking plays out.
And in that sense, if it's tag team, if the one guy taps, does your partner still get a chance to go and tap the other two from the
Right.
team?
Yeah, do it Polaris style, like.
Or is it like a one and done? Like
He's reaching like one dude that like his partner's in desperate trouble. He's been locked in that rear naked for a solid 10 seconds and it looks like it's getting tight. You're reaching out.
Right.
Other dude comes around the other side of the ring, just cracks him with a chair and runs back around.
Right, or can you do it like old school WWE style where you just have to put your foot on the rope and you can stretch all the way through into the ring to try and make the tap? Like,
Yeah.
it could get real fun.
Like dude's trying to work his way out of like a trouble situation. The other guy gets down on the apron and just like grabs his legs and holds him there so he can't
go
roll
after-
out.
Yeah. It could get real fun this weekend. I'm almost as excited to see how that plays out as I am the UFC. But
do they make him reset if he grabs the edge of the mat?
right, if he reaches the ring and he grabs the rope, do they make him let go of the submission and reset him? Like, it could be really fun.
So many things that could happen. It could be fun.
The camel clutch. That's what
I
I'm
know.
seeing happening.
Oh yeah, one dude catches a camel clutch and the other dude runs in real quick and just grabs those legs and cranks on a Boston crab at the same time.
We could have some really fun things coming out this weekend. That's why I wanted to mention this, because this I really have not seen that much publicity for, but there's so much fun going to be had on this card regardless. It's worth mentioning, I think. So, last thing I want to talk about here real quick before we get into our main course, as it were. It did take a little longer than normal, but they did finally announce all of the bonuses from last weekend's UFC Rio Rancho card. Interesting plays all the way through that card, but we found out that Mr. Daniel Rodriguez, in his submission of Tim Means, got a Performance of the Night bonus. Jan Blachowicz, in his fucking massive stoppage of Corey, got the other performance bonus. And then, in a surprise to virtually no one who watched the fucking match, Jim Miller versus Scott Holtzman got Fight of the Night, and they both got 50 grand apiece as well. Well fucking deserved by all those gentlemen, I completely think.
That was a banger of a fight. God, was it?
It was a whole fucking great set of fucking fights on that card. On that card, I think. So, with that being said, that will bring us into the meat and potatoes segment of the show here. The reason for the season, the namesake of this particular episode here, UFC Fight Night Aukland, Felder versus Hooker. This
such a fun match.
is so fucking nice of a card. I will say this before we get too far into it. I do think it's a little bit weird that they put this many good fights and this many hometown fighters on a card that was not a pay-per-view. Auckland is not, well, not Auckland, but New Zealand, Australia, the South Pacific area is not someplace where the UFC only goes once in a great while. We're down there pretty frequently with matchups, and every time it goes down there, it's fucking huge. If you watch the press leading up to this week, the Maori warrior receiving that they gave all the fighters that came through, the attention to detail, the respect that has been shown, the production that has been made of this in New Zealand coming down there, to me feels more like a pay-per-view than it does a fight night. And I hope for the sake of the guys and gals on this card, they feel that as well, because this does not seem like your average night in Nebraska where we're going to get some interesting matchups and a lot of fluff. This is a very, very well-stacked card with lots and lots of very promising local fights playing into this as well. So there is, as with most cards, a little bit of fluff on this one. So we're not going to break down every fight on the card. We didn't get one of those yet. Fingers still crossed we'll get one eventually where everything is so fucking banger we've got to break down every fight on the card. We haven't got there yet. But we got a bunch that we want to get to here. So without further ado, we are going to start out. The prelims get a little slow in the beginning. A little bit of that fluff, unfortunately, was kind of stuck up at the top, but I get it. Part of it is some of that hometown draw, getting the local no-name guys a little bit of a chance. Some of it is just some fucking weirdness. But what I want to jump right into is the Kia Kara France versus Tyson Nam fight. Kia Kara France is one of the newest, I wouldn't say newest period, but newest in terms of recognition by the UFC and by fighters from the city kickboxing gym that is just training fucking killers on killers on killers right now. They have got gold for fucking days and some serious badasses coming out of that fucking gym. Kia Kara France is no exception to that. Now, Tyson Nam comes in with a lot of fucking height and a great fucking reputation about just being an all-around devastator. Everywhere he goes, he's supposed to just be that motherfucker. And they're not giving him an easy fucking debut here to make against Kia Kara France at home on top of that. But much respect to Mr. Nam for taking this fight, but I can't help but feel this is going to be the big hype beginning of the hometown fireworks, really just setting that fucking arena on fire. I think we're going to see Mr. France with a devastating knockout in the first round, and I think it's going to turn that whole fucking place upside down.
See, Mr. Is it? Well, I think I agree. Kia Kara France is probably going to take this. So I don't know that this is going to knock out. I think these two are going to slug it the fuck out. This is the Fresh 03 fights, the little dudes.
Nice,
These are the fights that I absolutely love. Just two little dudes just swinging and just going and going and going nonstop. Both these guys have gas tanks for days. I hope this one goes to a decision. That's what I really want, this one to go to a decision. I want these two just to duke it the fuck out. And I think it has the potential for that. Both guys love to stand and swing. So this one's my crush fight of the cards.
I'm excited about this fight. However, before I talk about it, because I forgot to mention it during the news segment, there were two fights that were announced that you missed.
Uh-oh.
One was just earlier today, and so just briefly, number 3 time of them meeting, Shogun and Nogueira added to UFC 250.
No shit.
Brett Okamoto released the report, so it's official.
Interesting. I did not see that yet, but I was live doing my Nick
And
Divine
then-
impression earlier, so I understand.
Also, Shevchenko will be fighting on, I think they said 251
Yeah, it's in
in
August
June against Jojo Calderwood.
or June.
No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So Calderwood's going to get her ass whipped or get her shot. So those were the two big ones that I just wanted to note because, I mean,
Interesting.
we got two guys that are definitely on number 17 of the 18 in their career,
No shit.
but we get that third fight between them finally. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup as well. But I did not realize that they had fed fucking JoJo to the shark.
Yeah, they did, and apparently apparently from what I read, they haven't signed the contracts yet. However, both parties have already agreed to it. It's just a matter of inking it.
I will say though that actually does make more sense because when I was on Instagram this afternoon, I did see already a fucking Dosbrack painting of Valentina sitting on the fucking throne with a fucking gun in her hand and JoJo sitting in her UFC gear on a bench off to the side, and that makes a lot more sense now. Because I was like,
Yeah.
that's a weird fucking painting.
Well, now you know.
Makes it a little more valid now.
Anyway, back to where we're at here. Kai Kara-France and Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam, I think people are overlooking him a little bit. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win this fight at all by any means. Look, we saw what happened to Kai Kara-France in his last fight. He had a rough go of it. The City Kickboxing, the rest of them did pretty goddamn well that night. Kai Kara-France on the other side, not so hot that day. However, I think he had a little too much hype coming onto him because he was coming out of City Kickboxing, and I'll even say I was one of them because if you go back and watch when we broke down that fight,
Guilty.
I was guilty of it.
Yeah.
I think myself when he had his last fight there, he looked like the nerves got him. The being under the bright lights, the big screen, you're there with City Kickboxing. Yeah, that's a rough flag to carry when your leader is Israel Adesanya at this point.
No shit.
So I think this one he'll be a lot more calmed down. And Tyson Nam is in for a long night. However, he's not going to go down without a fight. I'm leaning towards what Fresh has got here. I think this one has a dark horse fight of the night written on it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll say it again. I love flyweight fights. They're so much fun.
There's no stopping on the gas tank for
Exactly.
days.
Exactly. They're not dragging any extra baggage around. They walk around at that weight. It's a party.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I know these guys. Let me pick the more fun name though. I'll pick Kai Kara-France.
Except,
We got an early casual corner appearance
right?
here.
Right. No, that's going to be a great matchup either way, and I completely agree. I think we saw a bit of the, for lack of a better term, the Francis Ngannou effect in Kai Kara-France. It feels like he came out, he had a fucking hot head of steam on him, had one good performance, and they threw him a little too deep in, a little too soon, and the flash of the real big lights kind of caught up with him. And I think since then, Eugene Behrman and Izzy have probably put a little bit of work and ground his ass back to a little more of a refined point. I think he takes it. I think we're going to see fireworks coming out of those two. But even if we don't, even if it goes to the decision, that's going to be a fun fucking fight either way it goes.
Yeah.
So moving along to the next one I want to talk about here real quick. An interesting matchup for a couple of different reasons here. Song Kanan, another one of my favorite Korean fighters here, will be taking on Callan Potter, making his debut at welterweight, coming up from 55. This is going to be a very, very tough first fight. This I would absolutely put akin to trying to take on Jan Blachowicz at 205 if you're Luke Rockhold used to 185. You might have been great where you were, but this ain't your playground. And I like Callan Potter, I think he's a great fucking fighter, but I think you're coming up to Song's fucking playground, and Song Kanan is nothing to be overlooked to begin with. I don't think we get a quick knockout on this one, ironically enough. This one, I think, actually will go to the judges, but I think that's going to be because this is going to be Song Kanan teaching Mr. Potter about the difference in levels at 55 and 70 here. I still think Song Kanan takes it, but I think this one actually does go to decision.
I wouldn't be surprised to see this go to decision. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of picture this fight like Song will just crack him, and then Potter's gonna wrap him up in a clinch and try and push him against the fence, and then he'll just pop out, give him some more shots, and then it'll be back to the fence for Potter, and
Yep.
that's kind of how I envision this fight going for him. I think Song's just a little bit. He's fucking devastating when he gets rolling. So
he's wily for a little guy too, man. And I say little guy lightly, but for a smaller built 170,
yeah,
he's fucking quick, man.
yeah. This. I mean, I'm trying to picture aside from the clinches and working them and trying to get points that way. That's kind of how I picture. I mean, Callan Potter's picked up a win here or there that's been fairly impressive in fights that he shouldn't have won.
Yep.
He shouldn't win this fight. It's certainly possible that he, if it goes to decision and he's clinched him the whole time and controlled the fight, it's easy to see the judges giving it to him. So, yeah. I mean, this in my mind, I mean, Song really needs to step out and really just level him the fuck out. Otherwise, I mean, the longer this goes, the more it gets into Callan Potter's playground. So, it's kind of how I see this one going. It's my thought.
Interesting. Yeah, especially I agree if Potter can get his takedowns working, because we have seen him work some fucking good chain takedowns, and I think against a guy like Song, if he can get those chain takedowns working, even if it does go longer, I think that'll help him out in the long run. But if he gets cracked in the process, though,
where's Contrary Mary?
Right?
Not on this one. I have this terrible thing with every time we've seen it lately, anybody jumping 15 pounds to go up a weight class doesn't work out well from them, whether it's to 155 to 170 or 170 to 185. Doesn't matter. That 15-pound weight jump, that's no fucking joke. That's fucking people up. Hey, Callan Potter is no exception to this rule, in my opinion. I think Song gets it done, and I don't see this going to decision because I think that extra 15-pound weight difference is going to be all it takes for Song to put him on his ass and finish him on the ground with a little grounded pound.
Absolutely a good possibility there.
I was going to go with Callan Potter, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, the more I run scenarios in my head, I mean, if he can get past Song, if he can get past like the first round and a half, like he could work him.
Yeah, he's gonna have
to survive a punch or two to the face, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. There's definitely, I agree. Definitely the good possibility of that.
Yeah, his style is, made for the bigger, faster guy to get in there, right, and take him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another one that's going to be real interesting to watch and see who can impose their will more is what that's going to break down to, I think.
Yeah.
But following up after that, we get another case of the hometown boy coming in to get this fucking place rocking, so to speak. Jake Matthews versus the fucking crazy Viking, Emil Meek. I fucking love Emil Meek. That dude is fucking just crazy as batshit.
He might be one of the pound for pound strongest.
Yeah, he's
best fighter,
fucking
strongest,
vicious.
dude.
Yeah, he will just throw you the fuck around when he wants to. The problem here is that Jake Matthews has a fucking right hand that has got lead infused in it or something, because when that dude cracks people, and it doesn't even have to be pretty, that's the craziest fucking thing. He has got people with some of the ugliest off-balance fucking shots, but when he touches people, man, it fucking lets them know, and it does it real quick. I fucking love Emil Meekin. He's a hell of a fucking grappler, but I think this is going to be another one of those situations where Viking strength just isn't going to be enough. I think Matthews is going to fucking crack him. I don't think he gets him early because I think Emil is going to know what to watch for, but I just think that power in Jake's fucking hand is too much. I think second round we see the Viking go to bed.
It's going to be interesting to say the least. Jake Matthews does have one punch knockout power. We've seen it time and time again. However, there's something to be said about the Viking old Emil Meek over here, because that dude's got a chin and he keeps going through things.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if his chin will hold up with the lead toward the hand of Jake Matthews, but we'll see how many cracks it's going to take. I think we're going to have to liken this more to how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop-Up? How many licks does he take before he actually goes to Valhalla?
Right.
But, it'll be interesting. Depending on how Emil's chin holds up, we could see a very interesting fight here, because if he can avoid some of those early heavy shots, I think we could see this get into some deep water, and that's where Emil's going to get in a lot of trouble because he's so much fucking muscle.
Yeah.
That's just going to sap his fucking gas tank something ferociously, and Jake Matthews can jump on top of that. However, Jake Matthews got to be very careful in the beginning himself, because with all that power, that's easy double leg city all day fucking long.
Yeah,
That's
especially with some
easy,
of the
hold
weird
your ass
punches he
against the
throws.
fence. Yeah.
He throws some weird kind of off-angle shots a lot of times, too. I agree. That absolutely put him in fucking danger for Emil to put him on his ass.
It'll be an interesting first round, I think, is where it's going to be most interesting. By the middle of the second, if neither one of them is sleeping at that point, that's when we're going to see whole Emil start to tail off, because all that muscle is going to sap all the oxygen out of his blood.
Yeah, and he
Really
does
slow
have a
down.
tendency to take his foot off the gas pedal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Be a fun one, though. Be a fun one.
Yeah. I'll go Emil Meek then.
You're just so we have a contrary Mary for the evening.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play the heel tonight.
Got it.
Acceptable. We can deal with that.
Well,
So-
it depends what you guys pick for the Felder fight, but for now.
Right. So that'll bring us on to the quote-unquote premier prelim fight here of the Auckland, New Zealand card. This one, I think, is going to be a very, very interesting chess match of a fight here between Jamie Malarkey and Jylan the Tarantula Turner. Now, I will say this. We have seen some very impressive performances from both of these gentlemen, but I feel like the last time we saw Jylan Turner, he didn't really get a chance to show what he's capable of. He really kind of got shut down the last time we saw him out. And if you follow him on social, he has been working on his fucking explosiveness quite a bit lately. It very much, to my great surprise and pleasure, seems to me like we've got a prospect here who was shown a hole in his game and actively started working to patch that hole while bettering himself overall. That's what you want to see in the new guys. Don't just come in, do what you do, and then be pissed off if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, there's a fucking reason. And intelligent fighters who look to have longevity in this sport will adapt constantly. To me, this seems like Jylan Turner, as good as he already was, came out, had some things in his game exposed, and then directly went back to camp and started working on those things, as well as integrating everything else in the advancement of his career. And I think the tool set that he has got and the drive that he has got to better himself is just going to be a little bit too much. I think this is going to be a Jylan Turner show.
I agree. I mean, dude's a 6'3" lightweight. It's fucking.
He's so
And
fucking long, man.
He's got some good power. He got thrown to the wolves early because he was putting on flashy ass performances, and then he got exposed. And who did you say he's fighting?
Jamie Malarkey.
No. Joshua Culibao. Last minute replacement.
No shit, did they pull Malarkey out?
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that fight had fucking changed.
They
Yeah.
did
Son
indeed.
of a bitch.
Yeah, so it's Culibao is he's undefeated. Culibao's undefeated. I'm completely unfamiliar with Culibao.
Yeah, that name doesn't even sound familiar.
Yeah, Joshua Culibao. He's a 8-0. But I mean, you're still fighting a 6'3" lightweight who's been working on his game.
Right.
Who has experience. That's the thing about losing fights the way that he has is, and like Mita was saying, he's really worked on his game, and he looks like, he looks pretty fucking impressive right now. It's gonna be. I think this one has potential for first round knockout. Like this is one of those ones where those long ass arms just come swinging at you from every angle, and next thing you know, you got a boot to the side of your face and you're done. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I have a hard time rooting against a 6'3" lightweight who's actually legitimately good at where he's at. So.
So
And-
Culibao is a local last minute replacement.
Yeah, he's an Australian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
8-0.
Yeah, but
I mean, that could be 8-0 against scrubs. We don't know. I don't know anything about him. I don't think anybody knows anything about him. Just a dude like, hey, will you take 10 grand to take a whole lot of fists to your face? Sure, I got you, mate.
So in his
Hey,
previous
you think he's gonna
organization,
get
he was the title or the featherweight title holder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
So
was
we
the
got a
featherweight title holder?
potential
Featherweight.
mismatch going here.
yeah.
We got the potential for a fight of the night.
Well, this
going
kind of-
from
Well,
feather to lightweight, that's a pretty big fucking jump. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it's probably his walking around every day weight. So
Yeah, that's true. Probably making that fucking walking weight. But,
Yeah,
either
'cause
way,
looking at some of his older fights here, he's not that big of a dude. He's really not. So he might be jumping up just to lightweight to take this fight. He might be a
Yeah.
featherweight that's stepping up.
yep.
let's make sure. I mean, the UFC backs a truckload of money to your door. What are you gonna do?
Also
You can
disappointing
park
that
the
I
dump truck here and sign me up, coach.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and then let's say you win the damn thing.
Right, yeah, then what?
Well, yeah, because then you're taking out a pretty well-known name at this point,
No shit.
albeit not the greatest name that's out there.
Still
I mean,
though, yeah.
although don't get me wrong, Dylan Turner did get thrown to the wolves early in the UFC. I
Yeah, he
mean,
did.
they punched him up against Vicente Luque at one point and just
Way
got
before he was
obliterated
ready,
in the
yeah.
first round before he even got a chance to get his feet wet. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not really much to call here because this is just Jalen Turner saying, "Yeah, I still want to fight. Find me a replacement." And
Yeah.
bam, here we go.
I will say, side note, I am a little fucking disappointed because I made my notes. I always try, just for a little fucking caveat for anyone fucking interested. My notes for the news and recent events segment get taken all day long, every day, from the time we end this show till the time I do the next I'm No Joe. The fight notes on the event itself, on the UFC event or whatever event we're covering for this episode, I do the night before we shoot. We shoot on Thursday night, so I make my notes on the fights themselves on Wednesday nights. And as of midnight, well, no, it was later than midnight. It was probably about 1 a.m. Thursday morning. I was making my notes directly off the UFC website, and they did not have any of these fucking fight changes up there yet.
Nope. No,
So-
they had a bunch of last minute changes
Yeah,
on this one.
that sucks.
I'm actually really excited to see this fight. Last minute dudes. They can be a handful.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Not only do we have a last minute replacement, but a last minute again semi-local replacement of a guy who's coming in with a good fucking record, and it looks like he's stepping up from fucking featherweight to lightweight. So I'm definitely intrigued now to see that, especially now that they're apparently going to keep it the fucking premier prelim fight. Interesting to see how that shakes out as well. Well, moving along from there, that will bring us into the meat and potatoes of the meat and potatoes segment that is the meat and potatoes portion of our show here, the main card of the evening. Now, I will say this. Again, we are not immune to fluff, even on a main card. Now, to be fair, this is a fight night card, so fluff happens. But in this situation, unfortunately, we've got a little bit of fluff on the main card. So, where I want to start here is with the, I guess the real main focus, aside from the main event and co-main event, obviously, the real main focus of the undercard of the main card, as it were, I guess. Brad Quake Rydell from City Kickboxing, training partner of Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, Dan Hooker, Kia Kara France, the lot, against Magomed Mustafayev, a very, very problematic grappler in that division. Now, I will say this, absolute respect to Mr. Mustafayev. He is an absolute fucking force to be reckoned with. No fucking doubt about that. But, and I'm talking Sir Mix-a-Lot level, but this is the debut at home of a gentleman who was hand-delivered his UFC contract by his training partner when he got it from Dana. This is quite literally a moment that they have been building for at City Gym for years. This makes, for the most part, their whole fucking top-tier stack at City Kickboxing UFC fighters now. This is the gentleman. If you follow City Kickboxing, if you listen to Israel, if you listen to Eugene, if you listen to Alex, if you follow the City Kickboxing crew, this is the guy that they have all been talking about the whole fucking time. Saying, watch out, because when Quake gets here, everybody's in trouble. Spoiler alert, boys and girls. Quake's here. This is the debut. And this is the most epitome of a perfect debut, in my opinion, that you could ask for. It's a great stylistic matchup. It's at home. The entire fucking card is filled with your teammates. Your people are here. Your teammates are fighting with you. This is exactly what a fighter wants when they make their debut. And I see, unfortunately, absolutely nothing that Mustafayev can do to stop this train from starting out real fucking heavy rolling down the hill. I think Brad Rydell takes this in spectacular fashion. I don't think we see a third round.
I think this is a tougher matchup than you're giving it credit for. I'm gonna be
I'll say this. I'm not trying to sell Mustafayev short at all. I think Rydell's coming in to make a statement here.
Mustafayev is he's such a heavy striker. Like that's where I see his advantage in this. Like
absolutely.
Like Quake's gonna move around. He's gonna have really good movement and he's gonna be really psyched. And then all of a sudden, here comes a dude like Mustafayev who hits as hard as Mustafayev does. Like this could go really, really poorly for Quake if he gets caught, because this is like the last time we saw Mustafayev, like he just annihilated,
flattened the dude.
Yeah. Like it was fucking ugly. It was ugly what he did to the dude, and this could be a ton of fun. This could be a ton of fun, just two dudes going at it. But I'll be contrary, Mary. I think he might get his debut ruined.
Interesting.
Musayev's got a point to make at this point.
Yeah, he does.
He really has a point to make. It's like I was hurt. I came back, I destroyed one dude. I'm coming back for another dude. Like you get, yeah. I'm gonna be contrary, Mary. I'm taking Musaev on this one. I think he's got way too much striking power for a kickboxer.
Interesting.
He's gonna be working legs, working body, and then just all of a sudden here comes old boy countering a shot and just pops him, just fucking levels him. That's kind of how I see this going.
Nice.
I don't either way. I don't see this going to a decision. This is not a decision fight.
No way in God's green earth does this one go to a decision. Either way it goes, whether it is Mustaev fucking dropping a fucking bomb or whether or not Brad Riddell decides to come in here and show what city kickboxing is all about. Now, thing is, this is his introductory fight into the UFC. This is a fucking hell of a way to put yourself on.
It's an introduction to the fucking world of the UFC for damn sure.
Well, yeah, for him, it's a fantastic place to do it. Do it at home. Have the crowd behind you. Your whole team's there. My question is, because they've got so many people from City Kickboxing on this card, this is where I get a little nervous, and this is going to come up a little later too. How do you spend time to individually train each one of these? They're all professionals. It's not like you had one guy that was fighting in a minor league promotion, AAA, that same week, where you probably didn't need to give him quite as much. No, all of these guys are at the pinnacle. You're at the UFC. So you got all of these fighters on here. How do you go about saying, yeah, we need to prepare each one of these individuals? Is he going to have enough time for preparation? I don't know. I know they've got a fantastic team there. I mean, look what's coming out of there so far. But
absolutely,
in somebody who's coming up with somebody who throws fucking bombs like that, though. Now let's have on the other side of this side. His takedown defense is fucking horrible. I mean, you can literally blow on him and he'll fall over takedown defense. So I mean, chances Pike can get in there and do a little bit of grappling work, take him down real easy. That could be a long night for Mustafa, but I mean, it remains to be seen. I don't know who's going to win this fight. I really can't call this one. As much as I would like to, one way or another, it's going to depend on a couple of things. Does Mustafa connect? Does he get taken down? How well is City Kickboxing set to handle this many fighters on one card? Because normally you can focus on one, maybe two fighters really well when they're both on a card. We're past the 3 mark here, so I'm just saying. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. Because, I mean, yes, you're all going to, God knows they were all in there training with each other, but the other part of that is film breakdowns, studying your opponents. Somebody who's going into fight, they generally spend a good amount of time doing that for each fighter. How late were these guys training? How long were they up? How much film did they watch? Did they watch each other's fights with other people to help them break shit down and vice versa? I want to know how that works out, because that's a whole lot of extra work that not a lot of people think that goes into this. It's not just go in there after you punched a bag a whole bunch of times, do a little jiu-jitsu practice with your buddies. No. There's a whole lot of other shit that goes into this, and I'm just wondering if they actually have the time for all of these guys.
Yeah. I'd be scared to death to fight somebody that had a name like Magomed or Zabit Nagamashanemer or whatever.
Yeah.
Those guys got hard heads too. Not only are they, are you saying that Magomed has bad takedown defense? Is that what you were saying, TJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's crazy, because usually those guys are really good wrestlers. I'm assuming with that name that he's Dagestani.
He's Russian, but I'm not sure what part of Russia he's from, so I can't say that he's Dagestani.
Yeah.
There are certain ones though that you can definitely tell.
Yeah, he's kind of got that caveman look, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I would pick Brad Rydell here. Where do we see Brad Rydell before? Was he in Bellator or something?
No, he training footage basically. Every
Yeah.
time they've done an embedded for Izzy or for Alexander or for Kayakera France or any of those guys, anytime they've got footage, generally Quake is in the footage. And then Kayakera France brought him his contract in City Kickboxing.
I could have sworn, didn't he step in on like a last minute fight in the UFC once before?
Yeah, I could have swore we seen him fight before.
I don't believe we've seen him in the
Let me
UFC.
look.
Double check here, yeah.
I actually think I remember Meter talking about him. Talking about him.
Actually, yeah, he fought at UFC 243.
Yeah, he beat Jamie Malarkey.
Really? I don't know how I didn't fucking remember that.
Oh yeah, remember that fight? That fight was so fucking good too.
Yeah.
He was fucking Malarkey up. I think he broke Malarkey's jaw. That was a really good fight.
Now I gotta go back and rewatch it because I don't even.
That was fight of
remember
the
that.
night too, I think. Yeah, that was a really good fight.
I have no fucking remembrance of that fucking fight at all right now.
He really beat. It was a 3-round fight, but he was really fucking Malarkey up at the end. I remember texting the group chat when it was going on. I said, I think Malarkey's jaws broke because his mouth was swinging open. It looked bad.
I'll have to go back and rewatch that fight now.
I'm gonna go. We're fixing things on the fly here.
Right?
Right.
Let's watch the fight.
Right?
Okay.
No, what I will say though is that despite not being the biggest power striker, and despite me not liking him or feeling that he really fucking should have the strap that he's got, you still have to take into consideration that Alexander Volkanovski hits like a fucking freight train, and that's one of his main training partners. Between Izzy and Alexander Volkanovski, I can promise you they are not taking a light on him. So I think he might have a plan for a strike-heavy offense. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out either way, though. So, the next one I'll get into real quick here. Not a whole lot needs to be said, but I definitely feel it is absolutely worth mentioning here. One of the longest names on the fucking card. Marcos Rogerio de Lima versus the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Sassoli, the Combat Wombat.
Fucking love his nickname.
That's
The best
all I
nickname.
have to say. Fear the fucking mullet, folks. Combat Wombat's coming for the W. That's all I got for that one.
I fully agree. I can't root against someone named the Combat Wombat.
No.
I love that fucking dude.
We've seen what he can do too. He's got a lot of potential in the heavyweight
Fuck,
division.
yes, he
he's
does.
just gotta get a little more polished and he'll be dangerous.
Wombat.
Fuck yeah, Combat Wombat. So,
Aussie right there.
right? So that's going to bring us in.
Is that the motherfucker who failed his shoey the last time I seen him?
No.
I swear.
That's you're thinking of Tai Tuivasa.
That's what I was
believe.
thinking is tied to Ivasa, yeah.
Yeah. Different Aussie.
Different down under feller. But that's going to bring us to what's commonly come to be referred to as the People's Co-Main Event. The next two co-main event fight on this particular card being Yan Xiaonan versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. This one is weird. As much as I don't want to root against Yan here, I kind of have to be a little bit impartial in that I feel like this is basically Karolina's last straw. I am a huge fucking fan of Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She is a bad, bad girl in her own fucking right, but she has had some fucking rough losses. And it just seems like at this point, this kind of feels like the UFC is tossing her that last chance that if she gets beat especially in a dominant fashion here in Auckland, I don't think we see her on the UFC roster come Monday morning. And I don't want to see it go that way. But man, if I don't have a fucking strong inkling, that's how it's going to go. Now, that being said, I am still going to hope against hope, because we have seen Carolina have fucking moments of just sheer brilliance in the octagon before. And I don't know that it's going to happen, but I sincerely and genuinely hope we get to see a glimpse of that old Carolina that we saw go in there and just fucking beat the shit out of people. But I have a sneaky suspicion we might be seeing Carolina for the last time in the octagon here. Like I said, hope against hope. But man, it's hard to be positive for her in this situation.
Yeah. The one thing she has going for her in this is, like, Yan just kind of does what she does. And Zhao Yan, she's a little bulldozer. Like, she's just straight ahead, just plow ahead, and she could get caught in a clinch and taken down and worked, and there's an off chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carolina's got that fighter's chance in this one. I mean, it's a match that almost favors her, just
kinda,
because
yeah.
of
It kind of does.
Yeah, just because of the style matchup. That being said, I mean, can she take what that early onslaught's going to be? Because that's what's going to happen to her. Is you're just going to see this little ball of fury just coming at her. So I don't know who I actually want to pick here, because this is it's her match to win. If she can get control of her and work her a little bit, like she could totally take this one. She could totally take this one, but she's fighting someone that just does not stop. So Yan Zhao Yan. I don't know that she can stop her. I don't know that we've seen recent evidence that she could make it through what's about to happen.
All right. Let's play Debbie Downer here on Carolina for this, okay?
Go for it.
Her last 3 fights. Jessica Andrade KO'd her first round.
Okay.
Michelle Watterson beat her mercilessly for 3 rounds.
Okay.
Next fight after that, she got beat mercilessly again by Alexa Grasso. Those are her last 3 fucking fights. That's from September of 18 to the end of this last year. Now, I believe in diminishing returns. When you get your ass handed to you that many times in a row, I don't see her coming back from that. I think at this point, if they keep her on, and this is a very strong if, because even if she wins this fight, I think she's pretty close to the end of her contract.
I believe so.
So they might cut her anyways, even if she wins. Because Andrade, okay, you have to fucking accept that one. Current champ, albeit for fucking strange reason, but
former
champ.
That was remedied, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Calling the wrong thing here, but I know what the fuck it meant. Former champ there. Watterson was on her way to a title shot at that point. And then Alexa Grasso, she's been on the incline, albeit kind of rocky incline. She's been on the incline. Yeah. Whereas we've seen just Carolina slowly just taking this bunny hill down to the bottom. And to be honest, I don't think she wins this fight at all. Not to mention, if anybody's watched any of her social media posts, she's more interested in talking to the camera and driving her fucking car than she is actually sitting in the gym. Post some shit in the gym, please. Show us what you're doing that you actually want to be here. I don't want to see you doing a live feed because you're blah, 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 and I don't speak fucking Polish, so I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Don't get me wrong. Still a big fan of what she did early in her career in the UFC. This last bit has been a fucking train wreck to watch, though.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets better from here. I think Yen gets it done, and I think we end up seeing her get her ass beat for fucking 3 rounds again. I don't think Jean-Anne's gonna finish her, but I will say it will go to decision. Carolina will probably lose 2 of 3 rounds. I don't think she'll lose all 3 rounds. She'll probably win the first, just purely on her how long she's been in the UFC. But after that, I think it's all the Yan Jianan show from there on out. But I do have to play Debbie Downer on her because it's just been an ugly thing to watch. Although there is one good thing to say about Jianan, and that is she has beat a couple of fucking animals in the UFC so far. She took out Kondo. Kondo is no fucking slouch. And then the other one that just pops into my head because it was fantastic to watch because none of us are really big fans, Angela Hill.
Yes.
So I'm just saying those ones are out there, and
Who was lined up for a beating earlier in the card?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, she was specifically not mentioned earlier on this card because I'm fucking done with the UFC shoving her down our fucking throat too.
I mean, you didn't watch her on the Joe Rogan show?
No, I did not because, for one, I don't care for her personally and I really don't give 2 shits about her story. But for 2, she shot that episode when she should have already been in New Zealand adjusting to the time.
Yep.
So if you
That
can't
was on
take a
Tuesday,
short
wasn't
notice,
it?
yeah, if you can't take a short notice fight seriously, let alone on the other side of the planet, why should I take your career seriously?
Yeah.
I actually watched it, and I actually grown to like her a little bit more after watching it. But yeah, this fight, Carolina. Sometimes when with the female fights, it seems like some of the females are just way more aggressive, and you could see it in the other female's face. And Caroline is the one that's not as aggressive, in my opinion. You always see like that. Oh shit! Like this bitch trains with dudes.
Yep.
So it's like she's kind of that type, and I don't know if Jan's a good fight for her because of that. But maybe she pulls it through. I mean, I like seeing people make a comeback. So yeah, I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say Jan. But I'm gonna root for Carolina because also Polish.
Yep. So I said I gotta hope against hope here. I don't know that it's gonna go that way, but I'm still hoping for Carolina to get a win. I have a feeling that really, unless she comes out and just fucking devastates Jan right out of the fucking gate in just spectacular fucking fashion, this may be the last time we see her in the UFC. I think TJ may be right here. This might be her last outing unless she really fucking performs. But that comes to bring us to a point here where we have to actively woo-saw against our sometimes better judgment, sometimes not better judgment, but the rabidness of our fandom has to be quelled just for a little bit. We have to do some deep breathing and recenter ourselves and let all that hostility go for just a moment and step back from the edge of super fandom that we tap dance on so frequently and have a little bit more of a casual moment and get a perspective here from one of our own that takes a little bit less of a vehement approach to the fight calling. Our favorite casual here, the one and only Miss Lumi. I think she's out there. She was a minute ago. There she is.
She's not here.
I was curious if I could get you to panic. I gotta pull a couple legs here. I gotta make sure everybody's awake. All right, so let's see. Jim Crute versus Michael something.
Yep. Alexi
That guy's
Jack.
blue. Jim is red. Let's look at these records, shall we? 10.
Did Oleg Suzik?
Alexis check. Yeah. I felt
Okay, so
I felt my 23andMe Eastern Bloc genealogy increase just reading his name the first time.
We'll just stick with blue and red.
There you go.
Let's see. We got. So far, the top part looks pretty. Oh, blue's already blue. I'm going for blue. Blue. You just go by the win by, and see KO TKO 71%, and submission is 7%, and only 21% decision. Where red has more of like an even balance of all three of them. I'm immediately going for the person who's likely to get somebody to take a nap. So we're going for Michael, aka Lord. We're going for the Lord. Praise the Lord, you better not let me down. Let's see. What's the fight after that? Paul Felder versus Dan Hook. Why do I feel like I've seen this before?
You've seen both of them fight before,
you've seen both of them fight in the last couple months.
Each other?
No.
Because I remember Hooker I was going for, because Hooker, and Felder was feeling trees. These were the nicknames I gave them. Hooker and Tree Toucher. Anyways, let's go.
Oh, can we call him the Tree Toucher?
Yep. Paul Felder?
Paul the Tree Toucher Felder?
Yep.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you've been following social media, you're not supposed to call him the Irish Dragon anymore. He's a German-Irish twat, or German-English twat.
Well, now he's just a Tree Toucher. So, Tree Toucher is red. Hooker is blue. Let's look at these records. 17-4-0, 28-0, New Zealand, United States. Tree Hugger's a little bit lower in height. So we've got, we're going for blue, simply for the 15% decision rate, and the Tree Toucher has 35%, and I'm just not okay with that. So, but he does have 59% KO TKO. So he has the Tree Toucher is more likely to put this bitch on his face if it comes down to it. But based off of the amount of decisions, I really hate it when fights go to decisions, so I'm going for my Hooker. Hooker, you better not let me down. Hooker and Lord, here we go. Lord Hooker.
Matchmaking heaven, hookers and lords.
Hooker Lord. Lord Hooker, we're good.
Hooker Lord, Lumi. What a call. Thank you, ma'am. Much appreciated. So, with that out of the way, that will bring the rabidity and the foaming at the mouth back, and it will bring us into the potatoes au gratin that is the side dish to our main event, the co-main event of the evening. One, Jim Crute versus Michael Oleksiejczuk, a man whose name is so difficult to pronounce he almost should win on that alone. Holy shit, that gentleman's got a set of vowels on him. So, this is one of those matchups. Not all of them throughout the evening, but this one I feel probably the strongest about is, for me, again, this is pure meter speculation here. For me, this one feels like, even though the Brad Rydell fight is going to be absolutely fucking bonkers, I have zero doubt, this one to me feels like the one that is really going to get the crowd absolutely fucking rabid. This is the one that is going to get the crowd losing their mind. I cannot help but feel that Jimmy Crute is coming out here to just try to steamroll right through this man and just put on one hell of a show for the crowd. And from what we've seen of that gentleman so far, I'm inclined to believe he's going to be able to fucking do it. I think Jimmy Crute's coming out to put fireworks on and get the crowd fucking stoked for that main event. I think we see a first-round knockout from Mr. Crute.
Are you doing contrary Mary Golf Tea or am I? You're muted.
Up to you.
That's one thing that I don't know. Like he can come out swinging for the fences all he wants. He's he's punching a dude that's a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like, dude just takes punishment. He might get tired, but he's still gonna stand there and fucking take it. Like, that's the depends on the strategy that the Lord takes. Like if because he wore himself out the last fight. Actually, the last couple, didn't he? No, it was just the last fight he wore himself out, and then just stood there and took it, and like that's like he's not a dude that you're gonna knock out. Like this is it would be something to see in my mind if he gets just walloped hard enough to take him down, because nobody's been able to do it yet. Eventually that granite chin breaks, but I don't know that this is the fight that it happens. And if he fights smart, you know, he's got knockout power all day.
Absolutely.
All day. So I'm gonna go with the casual corner. I'm going everyone bow to the Lord.
Interesting.
Now TJ's gonna contrary me.
Yeah, I'm going to contrary on a couple of things here. Contrary to popular belief, he does not have a granite chin. He's been knocked out twice and submitted once in his last 3 fights.
Really?
Yeah.
No, he won.
2 knockouts, both in the first round, and then a second round submission by the one OSP.
OSP you expect.
Well, yeah, but his 2 prior where he got knocked out were by nobodies. And by nobodies, I mean they made it to the UFC, so hats off to them. But either way, he was still fairly new to the UFC at that point as well. So at this point, I think he might just be getting his legs under him. However, wobbly baby Bambi legs, not going to do it here. But Jimmy Crute is coming off of a loss. We know that. He was on a tear up until that point. But he was also undefeated until that point, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yes, I believe he got his first loss the last time.
Which is good for him. Every good fighter needs a loss.
Yep.
There's his last 3 fights. He got beat by OSP and won the previous 2.
Can you guys see my screen?
What's that other fight that I'm thinking of? Because he did get fucking KO'd.
Where did he get KO'd?
No. Wait a minute. No.
Marcin Wojcik beat him in 2014. He was KO'd in 2014.
Okay. Maybe it's
that was the last time he was KO'd.
Maybe I'm thinking of his record because I know he did win a couple by knockout as well. That might have been.
Yeah, he came back because he had a 2 year.
My words.
He had a 2-year layoff.
Yeah, eat my words. No, I got it.
He's been ripping dudes.
Open mouth, insert foot there. All right.
We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live.
Except for OSP.
It happens. So both of them coming off loss. Either way.
That shit happens.
That's what happens. At least we're correcting it on the spot, and we don't have to add any cliff notes later.
I was like,
no redactions or anything like that.
Are we talking about the same granite-faced dude? Like, let me look. Like I was like, I don't remember him getting knocked out. But
yeah. Either way, so I eat my shoe there. Jimmy Crute coming off a loss. That dude's a bad motherfucker right now. Even coming off the loss, I don't think that there's going to be too much that the pull-up can do here because Jimmy Crute walks through people. When you watch him fight, he literally walks through people. When he's punching, he's not punching to hit you. He's punching to hit the fridge in your neighbor's fucking house. And they're crisp. It's not like his boxing is pretty goddamn spot on. He could use a little work, a little more polish, but right now it's pretty solid for where he's at in his career right now. However, it's going to take a lot because, I mean, you got 205ers here, so it could end at any moment. We've seen Jimmy Crute one-punch people before. But I think what's going to really be the kicker for this fight is he's fighting pretty goddamn close to home. He's coming from Australia. That's a short fucking hop, skip, and a jump over to New Zealand from there, depending on which side of Australia he lives on. But either way, you're talking, that's a pretty big fucking jump to go from Poland. No matter how hard you're training, as long as he wasn't pulling a fucking Angela Hill and showing up on fucking Thursday before your Saturday fight, he should be in fine shape. But we're not here to talk about that scumbag. I think I'm pretty sure Jimmy Crute walks away with this one, and I don't think it goes the distance. I think it ends in the second round.
All right. Just for the Angela Hill thing, she has been in camp for the last at least 10 weeks in the place. She flew to Joe Rogan and then flew back right after. So
It's still not. That's like a 17-hour flight.
Yeah.
It's still not good.
And it was, that they're recorded a couple days ahead, but
Right.
Yeah. I'm getting sick of you guys talking shit about Angela Hill.
Fanboy.
Man, looking at these guys' records, these guys.
You just want to run your hands through her fro, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I always liked a girl that could whoop my ass.
Who doesn't?
She probably can't. I mean, she trains with Beck Rawlings, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. Man, looking at these two records, they're both coming off a loss, but before that, they've just had at least 8 wins strung together.
Yeah.
Both, it's like their 4th fight in the UFC or something like that, or like Jimmy was in the Contender Series and then 3 in the UFC. They both fought pretty good names. This is a good one. I can't even say that I remember any of their fights. I've probably seen both of them. I guess I'll go with Michael O. We're going to call him Michael O. We're going to call him Alphabet Soup. Just to be on the other side.
Like Suchik.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting for sure. I completely agree that a loss to OSP isn't necessarily the biggest tarnish to have on your record.
No.
On the other hand, there's a reason Jimmy Crute was undefeated before that last loss, man. That dude is a fucking locomotive, and that leaping fucking throw that he has, he almost clears the whole octagon in like a 2-step combo. It's a lot, man, and I can't see him not putting that through the Lord's faith here, so it's going to be interesting to watch. But that will bring us to the properly reverse seared, that's what it is, reverse seared salt baed tomahawk steak that is our main event of the evening. And again, we are lucky enough to have a card with a main event that we can actually get a little fucking excited about again. We've had some hit and miss cards lately, but damn it, we've at least got 2 in a row here that are good, so let's take full advantage of that. This is an incredible fucking matchup. Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. This is literally one of the most interesting matchups in the lightweight division for me right now. And I understand that there is all kinds of craziness going on with the 55-pounders, and that's all well and good. This, to me, represents more about the 155 division than anything else going on right now, because this is a gentleman, and Paul Felder, who is a fucking staple. You can count on that man to show up and do fucking work. And then across from him, you've got one of the undeniable new faces of the next breed of the UFC class. Dan Hooker is one of those up-and-comers in the UFC that, again, coming out of the fucking war machine that is City Kickboxing from the fucking general himself, Eugene Berriman. This is Israel Adesanya's training partner. This is Brad Riddell's training partner. This is Alexander Volkanovski's training partner. This is Kia Kara France's training partner. This man is in the fucking trenches, steel sharpening steel on a daily fucking basis, and you cannot overlook the new breed coming up, as determined as they are to take over and make themselves known. But that is not an easy walk in the park when you have Paul fucking Felder standing across from you looking as fucking good as he ever has, in my opinion. Paul Felder's wrestling is looking fucking strong. His striking is looking fucking crisp. Paul Felder is a man on a mission. He understands that he doesn't have 15 more years in the UFC. He understands that time is valuable in a career in the fight world, and he knows his place in it, and he's not willing to go gentle into that good night. He is going out with a fucking bang, and he is rocketing towards a shot at that fucking belt before he's done. I think he is on one hell of a run, looking absolutely fucking spectacular right now, and I have a ton of respect for Dan Hooker and the talent and the potential that he has shown. But I think this is one of those situations where Paul Felder is coming in to make a fucking statement that he is not done yet. He is very much a contender at 55, and he wants his chance to go up to the top. I think he's going to take it. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to be quick. I think this is going to be a fucking brutal war. This one, I think, will go all the way to the fucking judges in a back and forth banger. But I think at the end of the day, the Irish Dragon is going to bring home the W.
Well,
Yeah, go for it.
couple things here. I'm not gonna play fucking sides on either side of this for this one, because for one, Dan Hooker has looked fucking phenomenal over the last year. Since his knockout loss to Edson Barboza in 2018, all he's done is move upward, and in spectacular fashion. Paul Felder's also lost to Edson Barboza. However, that was a decision victory and a very close fought one at that, which in turn Paul Felder got his W back this last year that we watched.
Yep.
So
And another great
both of them have taken the loss to Edson Barboza, and with equally fucking good right. Edson Barboza's no walk in the park. But Hooker trains with some of the best fighters in the fucking world right now. Literally, you have two champions out of City Kickboxing right now. Two. And how does that get better? Especially on the upward fucking rocket that we've seen Hooker on with no signs of stopping. On the other side of this, Paul Felder has become a fucking animal. He's willing to get in the phone booth and fucking trade with people, and he'll hold his own. We watched him do it against him and Edson Barboza too. Held his own against one of the most dangerous fucking kickers in all of the UFC. Managed to hold his own. Dan Hooker's kicks are not on the level of Edson Barboza, so he doesn't have to worry about that anywhere near as much. I think what's going to end up happening here is we're going to see a 5-round fucking war. Like, this is going the distance. We're getting all 5 rounds. You're getting your money's worth here. And I think it's going to be a pretty close fought fight, but I think Paul Felder's going to edge it out in a 3-2 decision. I think that's how that's going to end up going. It's going to be fucking too close to call, in my opinion, on this one. Where I think it's going to be a narrow margin of victory for either one of these guys. But I have to go with Paul Felder on this one over Dan Hooker, even though I know Dan Hooker is more than capable of getting it done.
Yeah. Paul Felder has no quit in him. We saw that in that last fight, which was it was one of the best fights last year. Was Barboza Hooker too, because those two just fucking went at it. And that's what I expect to see in this one is just two dudes just going at it. The only way I see this ending before a decision is if Hooker manages to slip in one of those kind of nifty submissions that he does. Other than that, I mean, I kind of see these two playing that MMA chess that we all love to see, like working counters, and there'll be big shots. Somebody's going to get hurt, and then you'll be sitting there, oh man, can they recover between rounds? What's going to happen next? And then it's just going to be back and forth again. This has potential to be just an absolutely phenomenal fight. Anybody who's not excited for this fight, I don't know if you've been watching these two at all the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, I see it going to a decision. If it goes to a decision, I can't go against Felder's heart. Like the dude just has no quit whatsoever. But I mean, Hooker's always got a chance to take it. Hooker's got more than the fighter's chance of taking him out via submission, because he's got some squirrely fucking game. He's got some squirrely fucking submission game. So I'm really excited to see this fight. This one's got me hyped.
Yeah. So Paul Felder's from the same city as me, so these guys couldn't let me be the heel just one last time and just go with Dan Hooker. So I guess I'm just gonna have to go with everybody else. Yeah. So Paul Felder's from the same city. My heart's gonna be beating out of my chest for this one. Usually, I always wanted to see Paul Felder versus Eddie Alvarez, like when Eddie lost to McGregor, or maybe when Eddie basically lost to Dustin Poirier the first time and Paul Felder was coming up. I think that would have been a good fight. I always wanted to see that, the two Philly guys go at it. But yeah, Paul Felder's last loss was to a 170 pounder on short notice, who also is one of my favorite fighters, Mike Perry, which he also showed a lot of really a big heart in that one too. He fought with a broken hand, and he actually came close to winning a couple times that fight. It was a very good fight. Dan Hooker's a very scary fight for him, though. Very scary. I'm very skeptical about how Paul does. I thought the height would be more of an issue, but then when I know Paul Felder had shoes on, Dan Hooker didn't. But when I see them stand next to each other, I don't see the height as being as big a difference as I thought at first. I thought Dan Hooker was a very tall 155er, which he is.
He's a long dude.
Paul Felder don't look much smaller than him at all. Even when they face off, it doesn't look like a huge difference. And I mean, Paul fights like a small fighter anyway. He likes to get in close and with his good striking and all that stuff. So got to root for Paul Felder here, but I think it's a scary one, man. Dan Hooker has looked really good, really good. And I'm kind of drinking the Hooker Kool-Aid as of recently, because he has looked really good. So Paul Felder, hopefully a knockout around the third, but yeah, I am not confident.
You know, you did bring up a good point that I forgot to mention earlier. When it comes to height, Dan Hooker has a fucking long reach compared to Felder.
Yeah, he's a long dude.
He's long.
Well, and he uses that reach too, which is what's good for him. He's real good at fighting distance.
Granted, I think, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Felder have one of the shortest reaches in this division?
I believe you're correct.
So he knows how to get inside on long people. He's been doing it. I mean, he proved it in the fucking Edson Barboza fight. So there's another long-limbed bastard.
Shit.
Mike Perry's a 6-foot fighter that had a longer reach and is a way bigger guy than fucking Dan Hooker. So, yeah. I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, for sure.
I think this fight's all going to come down to the amount of fight in the dog.
Yeah, I agree. Because we both know it's the dogs in this fight are the same fucking size pretty much. So this is definitely going to come down to the fight and the dog to see who's going to take this one for sure. One little quick side announcement here before we get out of here. Literally just posted right now. It is official. Demetrius Johnson versus Adrian Moraes for the ONE Flyweight Championship belt April 10th in Jakarta.
Nice. That's going to be a fantastic fucking fight.
Literally just announced right now as I pulled fucking Instagram up to check something real quick. So I did want to mention that real quick. I'm still probably going to talk about it again next week in the news and recent events. But for those of you lovely folks who are kind enough to make it all the way to the end of our show, you got a nice little tasty morsel here that everyone else will have to wait and see. But that is all that we have for this evening. So before we take it around and wrap it up here, if you enjoy what we do here, folks, I would ask that you give us a thumbs up. If we made some good points and you think we got some valid ideas, maybe subscribe. Consider checking out some other episodes. If we gave you a point of view you didn't have, if we made you chuckle, if we entertained you for the duration here, share an episode. We're trying to grow this damn thing, and we'd appreciate it. On the other side of that coin, if we're just a couple of dipshits sitting around talking to cameras not knowing what the fuck we're actually saying, give us a thumbs down. We won't dispute it because we earned it. But with that being said, I do want to take a moment here to thank all these fine folks who helped me make the I'm No Joe podcast what it is. First and foremost, if somehow folks just aren't as fresh as they really should be these days, how can 2020 help them live their best life?
Well, you cannot vote for Mike Bloomberg.
Absolutely. Anyone who saw me live will confirm that earlier, because fuck him and the ads I had to see.
I got a good chuckle last night. Anyway, you can find me at youtube.com/fresh03. We will be doing some tasty mixing tomorrow night on my channel. Possibly see some familiar faces from the I'm No Joe podcast and all the other shows that we do throughout the week. Tune in, check us out. We'll mix something up nice for you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
And now, if somebody, even after all of these shenanigans, still cannot figure out where the best spot to watch bum fights in Fishtown is, how can they get a hold of you to get that information, Nick Devine?
You can find me at n.divine83, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, I haven't been doing Facebook a little bit more often recently. Yeah, you can find me on all these shows, like Fresh's show on Friday, TJ's show on Wednesday at 10:30, Wire Talk with Big G on Saturday nights at 6 p.m. He's out in the chat. So, yeah, just hit me up or come along, watch a show. You'll definitely have fun. I know I do. So, thank you all. Thank you for watching. Thanks, chat. And, yeah, have a good weekend.
Thank you for your time, sir. Much appreciated. And now, I know it's highly unlikely and very improbable, but at this point, if someone doesn't understand why Green Bay is the only NFL city that really matters in the Central North, how can someone get themselves properly educated, TJ?
Come at me. That's all you got to do. You can find me here on the YouTubes every Thursday night, Wednesday nights on my channel, 9:30 Central Time. That's 10:30 for you guys out in the fucking East who like to stay up way past your bedtimes. And like 4 a.m. if you're in like Dubai. Something fucking ridiculous. But anyhow, it's gonna be a fantastic ride this weekend. I hope you guys all enjoy the fights. There's plenty of kicky, punchy things to be had. Speaking of terrible fighters and people who they train with, just know that if you watch Friday night, you'll be able to watch the other train wreck that trains with Angela Hill get her ass whipped. Because the only place she should be fighting is in bare knuckle boxing. But we're going to let that go for now.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated. So, that's all we have for this particular episode, folks. Thank you again for everyone who is watching this, whether you were here with us live. Thank you guys for keeping along with us, or you're catching this on a replay, or you are one of those folks who just get too easily distracted by this and you're just hearing this in audio form, I appreciate you guys as well. The analytics coming off the all audio version are fucking spectacular. I could not be more fucking humble. I literally have plays coming from around the globe. You guys are fucking awesome, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much for coming along for the ride, and stay tuned. It's only getting better from here, folks. We have so much in the fucking pipeline right now. I wish I could tell you some of it, but I'm holding it back, and it's difficult. I'm holding it back, though. But we're going to call it all for now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless at this point you still think Epstein really killed himself, in which case all I can say is...
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
I got a girl who's always playing on her phone. I got a girl who's not afraid to be alone. I got a girl who doesn't wanna do anything. I got a girl who always takes it out on me. Let it go, yeah, she said she would. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, yeah, she said she would. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
So if I'm using OBS, it doesn't matter.